Well, hi there, boys and girls. It's Mrs. Sotero. It's Wednesday with the principal at Center Street. So for you cults, today what I'm going to do is make a no-bake cookie. So I'm going to show you some things that I do. So I'm welcoming you into my home. So if you like chocolate, this is great. If you love peanut butter and have no allergies, then this is great too for you. So you don't need your oven on, you just need the burner. So you will need mom or dad or someone in the household who's older to help you to make sure you do not get burned. So, first thing we're going to do is wash our hands. What do we do at Center Street? We wash our hands for everything. So, we're going to wash our hands first. Remember, we wash it, we scrub it, we sing happy birthday, we count to 20. Making sure it's nice and clean, right? All right. So, now that we dried it, so what we're going to do is we're going to need to measure things. And you really need to pay attention to that, right? When we're in math class, we need to know how to measure things. So first thing we're going to need is some butter. Now, this butter has not been on the counter, so it's kind of hard. But I like to have the butter sit out so it's nice and squishy and it's soft. So I'm going to take this one stick of butter, so that's one whole stick. And let's count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tablespoons in the whole thing of butter. So I'm going to put it right here in my pan. Notice it's dripping. So that means it's nice and soft. And we want to get all that goodness out of there. Making sure we have it all. Throw out that wrapper. All right. So next thing we're going to need to do is measure out some cocoa. Now, you can use any type of cocoa. Here's one cocoa. Here's a Hershey's cocoa. It can be cocoa from anywhere. And we're going to have a quarter. Ooh, it smells so good and chocolatey. So we're going to have a quarter cup of that. So one thing we have to do, though, with baking is different than when you're cooking. Cooking, you can just add a pinch and a this and a that. But baking, you have to measure. So you have to be careful. So I'm going to make sure that I scrape off the top so it is exactly just what we need, 1/4 cup. All right, so I'm going to put that in here. I love the smell of that. Now, it doesn't taste real good because there's no sugar in this. It's kind of bitter, but when you add all the other goodness, it works out great. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is add some sugar. Now, you can use a lot of different kinds of sugar. This is a brown sugar that I use. This is a stevia sugar. Then there's a regular white sugar you can use. But for Mrs. Sotero, I'm going to use this because it's one of my favorites. Brown sugar is different than white sugar because it packs hard. So I'll show you a big difference between the white, which looks like this, and then the brown sugar. You see how it packs? Almost like when you're making a snowball. You pack it in solid. So we're going to need 2 cups of that. So I'm going to put some right in here so I don't get it all over my counter. So, we're still putting some more in, so this is going to be fun. And you'll be able to do this at home too. So, important to have your hands clean, right? So I'm packing it down. So you see that? Look, it looks like a snowball, right? You pack it down like your snow. So it's ready. So that's 1 cup. I'm going to put that right in there. And I'll show you what it looks like. It actually takes the mold. Can you see that? It actually takes the mold of the cup. All right, since that's not hot, I'm going to put it right there so I can add the others. So we're going to do the same thing because sometimes it gets sloppy when you're cooking. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you spill something. And accidents happen, right? You know that happens at home. You know it happens at school. You spill your milk or you drop something. That happens. We spill our cereal sometimes. Whoop. See, I need a little bit more. So I'm going to put a little bit more in here for us. Whoop. That might be too much. All right, let's see. All right, it's packed nice and solid. Remember, we need 2 cups. I'm going to pour that right in there. I'm going to bring that over to my stove. Now, I'm going to put my stove on. This is where you'll need somebody to help you, to make sure you're watching to keep yourself safe. So I'm going to get a spoon, a little one, and then I have my big spoon. All right, so I'm going to turn on my burner. And remember what I have in here right now? I have 3 ingredients. 1, 2, 3. I only have sugar, and then I have butter. Remember we counted 8 tablespoons in that 1 stick of butter. 8 of these. 8 tablespoons in this one butter. And then we did 2 cups of sugar. And then we added that cocoa, which just smells so good. But remember, it's bitter to the taste. So we're going to stir that and let that boil. So it has to boil a little bubbly for about a minute. So a minute, you know how many seconds are in a minute? 60 seconds. So let's try this. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to wait till that butter gets a little bit softer. Still getting all together. Whoopsie. See, I had a little accident. That happens. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to measure out some milk. Now Mrs. Sotero uses almond milk. I like almond milk. Well, you could use regular milk, 2%, fat-free milk, whole milk, whatever you have in your house is good. I just prefer almond milk. And for some of you who have some dairy allergies, guess what? Almond milk might be good, or soy milk is good too. So now, you see how I put that in the bowl when I was measuring? I don't want to waste anything, so I'm going to put it right back in my bag to make sure we don't waste. You know, like when we do things at school, we want to make sure that we're very smart about our paper usage, so we don't waste our paper or waste our markers. We put the caps on top. So we're going to do the same thing. Now this is new, so it has like a little button in here. So I'm going to take out that button, pull it right out, so that tells me this milk is really fresh. All right, so I need to have 1/4 cup. This is a cup. You see the difference? This is a 1/4 cup. This is what we used. So this is a 1/4 cup is just half of a 1/2 cup, and 2 halves make a whole cup. So we're going to use a 1/2 cup of milk. Now when I'm done with the milk, it's smart to put it back in the refrigerator. So we're going to do that too. I'm going to put this right away in my refrigerator so it keeps it nice and cool and fresh. Now I love this recipe. You know why? Because it's so fast and simple and you get to eat it so quickly. So I love that. All right, so we've already used our sugar, so I can put this away. I showed you the white sugar. That's my brown. And for all your moms who are out there when you talk to your kids, this is a great recipe if you're on keto diet, which I live by keto. So as that's going, I'm going to just stir it a little bit. So let's see how it's coming. Oh, and I'll have to bring the camera over. It's getting nice. And oh, there we go. It's, whoops. Okay, we're going to pour that milk right in here because we need it to get to a nice bubbly state. So now you see, oh, look at that chocolate goodness in there. All right. So we're waiting. We wanted to get all that together, and that butter got nice and soft. And oh, it's looking good. So remember, when we first looked at the cocoa, it was bitter. Woo, that's tough. But now we added all that that sugar, and it made it nice. Another thing you can use instead of a big spoon like this is a whisk. I'm going to go get a whisk. This is a whisk. And a whisk has these little, it's a little wire whisk. And one thing I was taught is that you're supposed to hold it like a hand like this so it has your wrist action. And we're just going to turn it till all of that is nice and melted. Some people like to go like this, kind of like when you're using a pinch grasp, when you're writing with your pencil, holding your pencil. Some people do that. Some people hold it with a fist. Now, when we use a pencil, we really want a pencil grip. We really want that pinch grasp. We don't want to hold a pencil with our fist like that. We have much better control like this. Oh, yes. So now, if you look at it, all of that is together. It's nice and smooth, glossy. That means it's shiny. All right, we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to have this here upright a little bit. All right, let's see what else we got to put in here. We need to put peanut butter. Kids love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We love peanut butter. So you can use Jif or any other kind of peanut butter you have. Mrs. Sotero uses a powdered peanut butter because it's part of my plan. But Jif and Skippy is really good. We need a whole cup of that. So I have lots of different types of measuring cups, but it's still 1 cup. So this is a plastic one, looks a little deeper. It's still a cup. This is a little wider, kind of looks like a shell, but it's still 1 cup. This one is a black one and has a little rim. It's still 1 cup. So just as long as we have 1 cup, that's what we're going to measure out. So since I have all my peanut butter poured here into this container, oh, looks like I'm going to need just a pinch more to make. All right. Well, I think that might work. All right, so I don't want to lose any of this. I'm going to make sure I have scraped everything off. Now remember I told you we want to let that boil for 1 minute. Do you remember? 1 minute, 60 seconds. All right. Let's go and check this. Oh, I hear something. You've just got to see this. It's bubbling right now. Oh, I'm going to get my whisk back out so you can see it. I could smell it too. So I want to show you there's bubbles right in there. See how it's bubbling? It's super hot. So that's why you need someone to be with you in the stove, because when sugar gets hot, it can burn your skin. So I'm being super careful. But remember, we wanted it for 60 seconds. That's 1 minute. Just enough so it's bubbling and it's almost there. So I see it bubbling again. So I think I'll look at my watch. It's so important to know how to tell time, because when you're cooking, you really need to know that, don't you? So we're going to just check what time it is. I have it on the 1, and we're going to wait 60 seconds. I have it on medium heat. You know, medium is in between. You have low, medium, high. Like here's low, here's medium, here's high. So we want to just have it on medium. And if you look really close, it's super bubbling. So now I'm going to turn it down to a little bit low, because we don't want it to burn, and that looks like it's 1 minute. So I'm going to take it off gently, turn off my heat, and let it sit right there, because next I'm going to put in peanut butter goodness. All right, so I have my whole cup of peanut butter right here. I'm going to scrape that in here. Oh, I love that. Peanut butter, yum. Peanut butter and chocolate's so good. Peanut butter and jelly is so good. Peanut butter by itself. Peanut butter with apples or celery is good. I like to scrape all this out because, again, we don't want to waste. We'll put this right now, sink. And I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir because it'll melt right in there. But I'll leave it in here, and then I'll leave my spoon in there so I can toss it a little bit. All right. Well, now that we're done with this, we don't need this. I can throw this out. Now we're going to put some vanilla in here. Now vanilla, this is pure vanilla. You can have liquid vanilla. Guess what I discovered? Oh, I love the smell of this. Is a vanilla bean. I want to show you what it looks like. This is a pure vanilla bean. Oh, it smells heavenly. And when chefs use it, like on TV or special places or restaurants, they cut it open and they scrape out the vanilla bean. And that is just pure delight. But what happens is, for us, we're going to use this liquid. It's so much easier, but I do love the vanilla bean. We need 1 tablespoon. So this is a tablespoon. You know, there comes different sizes. You want to be careful to have the right measuring, because this one is only a teaspoon. This one is a 1/4 teaspoon. Do you see? There's a big difference. So we need 1 teaspoon, so that's pretty deep. We're going to just fill that right up. 1 tablespoon, rather. Here we go. 1 tablespoon. The other one was a teaspoon, but we want a tablespoon. We pour that in there. We could get rid of that. Now we're really going to give it a nice stir. Remember, you could still use the whisk, and that works out really well too. We want all that peanut butter to dissolve in the chocolate. We don't want to be like peanut butter. I can see peanut butter and see chocolate. We don't want that. I think it's time for us to use that whisk. So I'm going to bring my whisk back out. Remember, I told you. And I'm going to stir it, kind of like I told you. You can hold it with your fist, or you can hold it like you hold a pencil with your pincher grasp. And when I stir it, everything becomes one. You can't tell that there's peanut butter in there. You just see it looks like a big chocolate liquid. Like you put maybe on a sundae or something special. All right. Now, the part that is really healthy is oats. Have you ever eaten oatmeal for cereal or for breakfast? Well, this particular recipe wants you to use oatmeal and oats. So we're going to, again, I'm going to measure over here. So look it, there's 1 whole cup. I'm going to bring it over. Now we need another cup. So I shook it. Remember I said we're going to make sure that it's even. So we have just what it says, 1 cup. And I'm going to pour that in there. And then we need 1 more cup. So how many cups? 1, 2, 3. 3 cups of oats. All right. So I'll put this over here. And I'm going to carry this right over to the stove. Now remember, I took it off the burner. We don't want anything to burn. Okay? So I'm going to move this over to the side so we can see. Remember, I showed you about that. And we have our measuring cups. And we don't want to waste those oats in there. Remember, we don't like to waste. We're so good about Center Street. We recycle. We make sure that we use everything, don't we? So I have some extra oats, and it's not all over my counter. I'm going to put it right back in the bag. So we do not waste. And there we go. So in order to keep it nice and fresh, we always want to seal the bag. So a little twist tie right there. You probably used twist ties when you did math. Sometimes you use twist ties to put things together. Sometimes girls have twist ties in their hair. Now it actually asks for a pinch of salt. Do you know what a pinch is? This is a pinch. So a pinch would be, I have some salt in here. I'm going to take my 2 pinchers, my Thumbkin and my Mr. Pointer, pinch it, and I'm going to put a pinch of salt in here. And then I might just add 1 more pinch. There we go. I've made this recipe a lot, so I know exactly what we need it to be. All right, I'm going to move this to the side. Now we're going to stir this. I'm going to bring over my cutting board so I can bring this on the countertop to show you exactly how I'm moving everything. One of the things I like to do is to make sure I don't make a mess, and your mom and dad will be happy if you're not making a mess too. So when I have something hot, I use this board. It's a cutting board, wooden board, and this way we keep everything from ruining anything. You don't want to ruin your countertop. So I'm stirring right now, and what happens is once I do this, it starts to get a little bit firmer. That means not so much liquid. If I notice that it needs a little bit more, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some flour. You can add white flour. Mrs. Carol uses a lot of almond flour. Now, if you have allergies, you can't use that. So I'll put just a scoop in there. And then I'm going to stir it up, and it just actually firms it up a little bit more. And then if I think, you know, I think I'd like to have some more oats in there. The 3 cups was good, but I think I'd like it to have just a little bit more. So I'm going to take my scooper out, and I'm going to go back to my bag. And this is what's really great about this recipe. You could make it as firm as you want. You can add nuts to it. So I think I'm going to use my measuring cup again and use 1/2 cup. Remember, a half, there's 2 halves in 1 whole cup. Do you remember how many cups we used? That's right, 3. 1, 2, 3 cups of oats. I'm going to add 1 more half just to see if I want it to be a little firmer. Oh, yes. So you see it's getting a little firmer. And one of the things I do like to do is add some crushed nuts to it. Oh, just has that texture and crunchiness. So this is all set. I'm going to move that on the side. It's getting, nice and gooey. And I think I'm going to add just a pinch more of flour. Remember, you can use almond flour or white flour. I just prefer to use the almond flour. I'm going to use 1 more scoop of that. And that scoop is probably a couple tablespoons. But you can do that by your eye when you look at it, and I'll show you what mine looks like. All right. Now it's setting pretty well. All right. I'm going to move this. One of the things you need to do for this particular recipe is you need parchment paper. Parchment paper helps things not to stick to your board, and I love it because it's really easy to clean up. So you can actually use a foil wrap too, but parchment paper is actually the best for chilling it. All right. So I'm going to move this down a little bit so you can see me scooping this up. And we'll move these out of the way. So this way you can see everything clearly. All right. So it's getting nice and gooey, and I want to just show you that. Oh, it smells so good. All right, tossed it one more time. So what I'm gonna do is take my little cookie scooper and I fill it up and I just squeeze it and put it right there. It looks like a big mound, doesn't it? So, and here's another one. And I'll go all the way until I fill it. And remember I talked to you, I said, oh my, I think I didn't put enough on there. How about that? We like to have a little bit more. We want it to be about the same size. So remember I told you can use nuts. Now I really love nuts, so you can use walnuts or pecans or almonds or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of nuts. These are walnuts. And then I'll show you what some pecans look like. Alright. So, pecans are dark brown. So you see that? And a walnut is actually a lighter brown. They're both tasty. And almonds are a little bit more oval. So I usually take a combination of both. That's kind of our favorite here. Well, there's not too much in the bag, so you know what? Might be a good idea for me just to finish it all up. Now, you can do a couple of things when you're doing crushing walnuts or pecans. You can either use a knife, but sometimes you want to be careful because that's dangerous. You can use a rolling pin and beat it. You can actually use a can. So if you used a can like this, that's okay. So I might roll it and then I'm on a board. But you know a trick that I found? I'm going to show you. I actually will take a plastic bag like this, a Ziploc bag, and I put all the nuts in here. And then what happens, I make sure it's all in there so we don't waste anything. And then I just zip it up like this. And I've learned these tricks. You know how I learned these tricks? Sometimes I'll watch a cooking show. Sometimes I look in a recipe book. Sometimes someone will say, hey, this is a quick way to do this and it's easy cleanup. Just like what your teachers do. You know how your teachers will say, I'm going to show you how to add. I'm going to show you how to multiply. I'm going to show you a quick way to write this sentence. And you're like, oh, I get it. So guess what? So I did too. So if you don't have a rolling pin, you can just use this. And I just took this can, and remember, I'm just kind of hitting it gently. Now I hit it gently on a cutting board because we don't want to break anything of your parents, right? And there's no mess, which is really nice. And you could find a can all by yourself. You could use a corn can, you can use a soup can, it doesn't matter what can. But now look, I have all of my nuts all cut up. I didn't have to use a knife. I kept safe and I didn't make a mess. So everything's in my bag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this right into my mixture because we like that extra crunch. So I'm going to pour that right in there. And remember, I used walnuts and I used pecans, and pecans are darker, aren't they? They're kind of a darker brown. So I need to give this a nice stir. So I have 3 of them with no peanuts, and then the rest of them will have the nuts in it. Now I want you to see how it's getting harder. And you know what I do? The quick trick is, because Mr. Sotero and I don't like to wait when I'm making cookies. So I put it in the freezer, and then for a couple of minutes, and then we can have it quicker. Because it really needs to set. So here's another scoop. And here's another scoop. Don't they look good? They smell good? You know, I've learned how to cook when I was just your age in elementary school. My mom would tell me how to do things. Sometimes a friend or a neighbor would show me how to do things. And one time, my teacher taught me how to make some things too. And then I did that at home. You might be like know how to make melted cheese sandwiches at home. We'll have to do that sometime together. That's always a yummy treat. All right, so you see I have, let's count how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is a dozen. So we have 12 cookies ready to go. So this is going to set in the freezer for a little bit, or your refrigerator, or you could set it out on the counter. And when it's nice and hard, it'll still be gooey. And it's called a no-bake cookie because it doesn't go in the oven. So that is my time with you today. So we're going to have some special times every Wednesday. And I'll surprise you with some treats. And then I will post it up on the principal's page. I'll post you my recipe that I found. And remember, boy, you need to know your math, don't you? So measuring is so important. So when your teacher's saying, when we're talking about fractions, you need to listen if you want to bake these cookies. And if your teacher says, I need you to do it, step 1, when you get ready for writing, guess what? I had to do this. Step 1, I had to put the butter in the pan. Step 2, what did I need to do? Next thing I need to do is measure out the sugar and put that in there. And as I was doing it, I did step by step by step until we have this. And that's what your teachers will tell you all the time. First, next, then finally. That's how we write our stories, right? So we know a little bit about math. We use that in cooking. We know a little bit about directions. We use that in cooking. And it's always fun to eat your final product. All right. Well, thank you for coming to our Wednesday with Principal Sotero. And we'll have more goodness to share. Have a great learning day.